For the people in the conference, I want to define what I mean by worldview. It's made up of values, shared values. Values cohere in sets or systems. This is why it's very important to have this within of things, this intersubjective ontology that can allow for worldviews to be somewhere besides just in our heads, right? They're not just in the words on the page or in the videos on the screen. They're not just whatever I think. The fact that they're shared large-scale world historical systems of agreement, if we're going to posit these systems and identify some kind of value metabolism that gives them life and allows them to persist across multiple generations, then we need to ground their ontology or their beingness somewhere, right? They have to exist somewhere, and that's why a huge breakthrough, I would say, that we can see. There's not one integral philosopher that is we can credit this to. Certainly, Ken Wilber deserves some significant credit in his quadrant model by identifying the lower left, the collective, interior as a domain of development, and he gives it an ontology. It's known as intersubjectivity or social ontology within academic philosophy, but they have an allergy to metaphysics, and so Wilber's quadrants is not recognized by academic philosophy in any serious way. And this idea of that there's a realm in between us that is it's within, it's part of the interior universe, but it's nevertheless not just in our heads. It interpenetrates our minds. Cultural consciousness is an important part of how we think and make meaning. But being able to allow for worldviews to have a space, a domain of development, it requires philosophy in order to frame that space. But once that space has been framed, we can not only see the worldviews as systems more clearly, we can also work with them more effectively. We saw something similar during the Enlightenment when René Descartes framed objective and subjective, right? I mean, it was there all along, but this philosophical framing of the objective allowed people to see things they couldn't see before. It allowed them to grab hold of the stuff of the physical universe with new power, which led to the scientific age and all of the wonders of modernity. So we're doing something similar now, or at least attempting to, by allowing for a realm where worldviews exist, the world in between us that has space, even though space. We might bring in the physics concepts of non-local, right? It's not. The worldviews don't exist in an extended space, but they nevertheless exist in this realm in between us and the internal universe. So this could be a whole talk in itself. But just to complete this definition of worldview, so that they're coherent systems of values and ideals that persist across multiple generations. Worldviews are also widely held cultural agreements of what is good, true, and beautiful. I mean, what makes the good, the true, and the beautiful powerful and attractive is that they're constituted by agreement. And each of these worldviews on the spectrum of development can be understood as like octaves of the beautiful, the true, and the good. Each one has its own, while there's overlaps and universals, we can also see how each worldview makes its progress and history by bringing forward a new frame of values, a new definition of the good life, a new philosophy of what's real and what's true and what's worthwhile. So goodness, truth, and beauty are an important part of what makes up these worldview structures, even though each has its own distinct, and sometimes there's harsh differences between them, which I'll get to. But worldviews provide our sources of personal identity, at least partially, and very important for political solidarity. And again, what I'm arguing is that recognizing the structure of emergence within our bodies, within our minds, within the noosphere is a very important move that integral philosophy allows us to make, which is foundational for working for the growth that we need to deal with the meta crisis of our time.